Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, prosecution witness at the trial of former Oyo State Governor Rashidi Ladoja alleges that ex-governor laundered £600,000 sterling through his daughter's account. The Federal High Court in Abuja nullifies Nigerian Bar Association's constitution under which its current leadership came into power. The National Broadcasting Commission extends deadline for payment of outstanding license fees by broadcast media houses to June 30. And European Union rules out early Brexit talks with the UK.
And on business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria refutes claim of insufficient forex supply by some commercial banks.
On sports news tonight, a clear-out looms over FIFA after the completion of the probe into allegations of corruption.
And from Abuja, UNESCO advocates press freedom for journalists in Nigeria, seeks government and international agencies protection for journalists. We begin tonight with a trial of a former governor of Oyo State, Chief Rashidi Ladoja, on allegation of alleged laundering of 4.7 billion naira. A fresh dimension to the case was revealed today at the Federal High Court in Lagos when a prosecution witness, Adewale Atonda, took the stand and alleged that a whopping £600,000 was laundered through his daughter's account in London. Ms. Atonda, who was at the time a senior special executive assistant to Ladoja, told the court that the money was part of the sum of 634 million naira, which some stockbrokers contributed for expenses during Ladoja's impeachment process. According to him, the former governor had earlier instructed the sale of some shares belonging to the Oyo State government to the stockbrokers. However, under cross-examination by Ladoja's lawyer, Mr. Atonda said he did not receive any acknowledgement for the payment of £600,000 from Ladoja's daughter. The case has been adjourned till April 12th and 13th, 2017. Chief Ladoja, alongside a former Oyo State Commissioner for Finance, Wahid Akombi, is accused of conspiring to siphon 4.7 billion naira from the state's treasury. It may not be the best of times for the Nigerian Bar Association as the Federal High Court in Abuja has nullified the constitution of the NBA under which the current leadership came into power. But this court judgment has been appealed by the leadership of the NBA, and they're seeking a stay of execution to the judgment delivered by Justice John Soho. That judgment had held that the amended NBA constitution, under which the present executive was elected, breached Section 597 and 598 of the Company and Allied Matters Act, especially as it relates to the registration of the amended constitution. But another court, this time an appeals court in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, has granted a stay of execution on Honorable Justice John Soho's judgment. In the meantime, reactions are still trailing the suspension of one of the former Senate leaders, Senator Ali Ndume. One of such is coming from a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, who says the Legislative House has no right to suspend a sitting member for days or months. However, another senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Mike Ozekome, disagrees, saying that the Senate has the right to call its members to order. They were both speaking on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
No legislative house in Nigeria can suspend a member for one single day. And we have a plethora of authorities on this. In 2010, again, I was involved in this. As a member of the House of Representatives, Senator Dino Melaye and 10 others, out of frustration, submitted a petition to the EFCC alleging criminal diversion of funds by the Speaker, the Meiji Bank-led leadership of the House. Of course, as usual, they say, "Oh, this is very scandalous. The House has been terrorized. The House has been scandalized." And despite our advice, no, let the law take its course. An investigation, a petition has been sent to appropriate agency of government, to the appropriate agency. Take your hands off it. No. Dino Melaya and 10 others were suspended indefinitely. We went to court. I went to court for them. And the court said, under your own rules, you cannot suspend a member for more than 14 days. Under what law did you suspend these 11 members of the House of Representatives for an indefinite period of time?
Femi Falana is wrong. The Senate has a self-deodorizing mechanism to discipline its members and to discipline outsiders. It is an institution created under Section 4 of the Constitution to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Nigeria. And it has its oversight functions under Sections 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution to bring to book not only public officers, but all persons who have input into matters over which the National Assembly has powers to make laws. In the case of Aton Nzeribe, for example, versus Senate President, I did that case. Nzeribe had libeled Anyim, who was then the Senate President. And he called the entire National Assembly legislatives, that they were thieves. And the Senate suspended him for 1 full year because they have the powers, the mechanism to discipline erring members under their rules. The law is voluntary non-fit injuria.
It appears not everyone agrees that the National Assembly should carry out the function of oversight and legislative scrutiny of statutory laws and policies before they come into force. There were disagreements today between participants at a public hearing on who should oversee the scrutiny of statutory instruments. The House Committee on Justice had called a public hearing on the provision of the Statutory Instrument, the Statutory Instrument Bill 2015.
This is a public hearing by the House Committee on Justice on a bill for an act to make it mandatory for the National Assembly to scrutinize and approve statutory instruments before it becomes enforceable. The chairman of the committee, Honorable Razak Atunwa, opens with details on what the bill intends to achieve.
It is intended that the statutory instruments themselves should carry a bit more weight on the one hand, and on the other hand should have some scrutiny so as to avoid conflicts or other grey areas.
However, participants disagree on who should manage the oversight and scrutiny of the statutory instruments.
The Commission believes that this bill will strengthen the oversight of National Assembly over delegated legislation and prevent possible abuse of the power.
We strongly suggest that the bill should be jettisoned as it stands on this ground. We have standing committees of both houses. They should carry out that function, that oversight function of, okay, there is a regulation by virtue of an enabling act or enactment. The standing committee having oversight function over that should be the one, the committee should be the one that should scrutinize that piece of instrument and where necessary make corrections and it becomes a regulation rather than making another bill.
Instead of the National Assembly going back to work on these issues without self-proof that what they intend to prevent will still occur, then it will be better to allow the status quo to remain, so that the courts that are there will continue to look at such instruments.
The committee will be expected to take these positions into consideration before arriving at a decision on the proposed bill and presenting it to the House. Nigerians will have to wait to see if they do.
A face-off between the managements of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife in Osun State and teachers of the staff school of the institution has assumed a new dimension as the workers have decided to down tools to show their grievances. The workers say they have embarked on an indefinite strike until they get their 9-month salary arrears and their names returned to the federal payroll. The management of the institution is, however, asking workers to give it time to attend to those requests.
Going by the academic calendar of the Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, Osun State, primary school children were to begin their second term examinations on Monday, March the 23rd, 2017, and end on Thursday of the same week. But that's not to be, as their teachers are on strike.
We have refused to examine the children because we have not been paid. A hungry man is an angry man. We are angry because we have been neglected.
To express their anger, the teachers resort to a protest, chanting, praying, and calling for help against the decision of the university to remove workers of the staff school from the federal payroll.
They want to maintain the caliber of teachers and they don't want to pay us. So what we are saying now is that they should pay us all our arrears and still put our names on the federal government payroll. These are the two things we want from the management of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife.
What the school management wants now is time for these grievances to be sorted.
I know that the acting vice chancellor will table these grievances before the members of council. And I know, by the grace of God, that the members of council will do positive justice to this. Honestly, I may not be in the best position to say this because we take our own salary. And I know how they feel. That's why I'm saying we are appealing again. We are appealing again that this will just give us a little time and things will be sorted out.
As the countdown begins, these teachers say they will not return to the classroom until their demands are met, leaving the innocent children to suffer the consequences.
Boko Haram may have technically been defeated, but there is one thing the federal government says is left to properly deal a lasting blow to the menace, and that's a re-radicalization against terror-related ideologies. This formed the focus of discussion today between Nigeria's Vice President and the Prime Minister of France, who have agreed to work together in achieving a terror-free Nigeria. At a bilateral meeting in Paris, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo told the French Prime Minister Bernard Cazeneuve that the need to break the ideology underpinnings of terror is now important. Professor Osinbajo says one thing left for us to deal with is de-radicalization, defeating the ideology behind the mindless killing and violence. The French Prime Minister praised what he says is the tremendous progress made by the Buhari administration in degrading Boko Haram and suppressing the insurgency significantly. Professor Osinbajo is in France, where he's attending the Global Forum on Anti-Corruption and Integrity, hosted by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Meanwhile, the Nigerian military says that some roadblocks will remain in different parts of the country. That's in spite of an order by the federal government that all roadblocks should be removed. The Director, Defense Information, Major General John Enenche, says that some roadblocks called SNAP roadblocks are not affected by the order.
On several occasions, you will hear that roadblocks to be dismantled, particularly for the military and sometimes for the police. Those are called static roadblocks. We have various categories of roadblocks. These ones that you are seeing are referred to as SNAP roadblocks. And SNAP roadblocks are always established or put in place based on intelligence. I tell you, if these SNAP roadblocks are not there based on the intelligence we receive, criminals will have a field day. So that is why you still see all those roadblocks. There are roadblocks of necessity for the protection of lives and property. There are not the static roadblocks that you used to know. And I want to humbly state here that it will be a continuous thing. As long as we keep getting information, we will not leave anything to chances.